Such an 80s song. Salutations and hello, all you lovely rogues and rascals. Jerodius Thane is the name, and you've reached my channel, A Wash of Static. And whether this is your first time being a part of the static, or you're a longtime friend coming back again, welcome to here. Today, we are going to go ahead and do a little bit something different than what we've done before in the past. Nostalgia is quite the craze. It seems as though, like, if you are old enough to ride a bike, you're old enough to be nostalgic about something. Well, for me, those bike riding days were quite a bit ago, so I decided that let's go ahead and take a look at one of the most wonderfully zany decades that human beings could have ever invented. America in the 1980s. We're going to go and take a look at things that kids had, wished they had, all the while sporting really wrong life choices as far as hairstyles go. So, with that being in mind, let's go ahead and cue the music. Let's start. We're starting this episode right now! You can't really have the 80s without cologne. So many of us in junior high just doused ourselves in it, to the point where I'm amazed anyone wanted to come around and smell us at all. We got a bunch of colognes here. Some I remember, some I don't, and some I'm kind of wishing I could forget. Over here we have, let's see, Fruit by Fabergé, because eye patches are so goddamn sexy. Here I've got some memories of this one in particular, Draca Noir. These guys had some interesting commercials way back in the mid-80s. I remember one in particular. Woman is jogging through a rain-slick street where this guy's boxing and then jumping rope and doing all kinds of athletic things all in the same day, same hour, because that's what this stuff gave you the power to go ahead and do. And they meet up, and he's stone cold and emotionless, because I'm a man. I have no emotion. My cologne, where's my emotion for me? I remember being so proud, actually, because when I was at a point where I could go ahead and buy my own cologne, I felt so adult. Draca Noir was the first one that I ever bought, just because it was so highly recommended by a couple, few friends I had in junior high. It smelled like crap. I thought, if it gets you the girls, do it. You will do it. It did not give me the girls. Back in junior high, I was still a short, horny, hopeless dork. And these days, I'm just not short. Let's see, what other colognes do we have here? Some of these are almost a little disturbing. Old Spice. I'm a terrible whistler. I can sing about anything, but I'm a terrible whistler. They've been using that whistling tune for the better part of decades. Commercials didn't used to be just zany. They used to be rather stiff and old-fashioned, to be honest. But these days, you'll have a parrot and giving birth to a pirate or something like that. I never had it myself, but it was kind of well, if you couldn't have your regular one, then Old Spice was a very solid, backup. This was the one that I was thinking of that was a little disturbing. Yeah, Love's Baby Soft, because innocence is sexier than you think, and the girl is something 12 years old. Ew, bad vibes. Okay. Of course, we know that in the 1980s, video games. The 80s birthed video games. Also birthed video game wars. Atari was against Sega. I got some fond Nintendo 64 GameCube moments. I know that's not an 80s thing, but if you've got those memories, please go ahead and comment below. Yes, but no other video game stacks up to Atari. These cartridges were they were hilarious. They all had the same lettering, they all had the same size. You just plugged one in and played. And there was something about those 8-bit video games. Video chess was considered a game. I remember actually losing to the computer, playing it solo once. I didn't have an Atari. My stepbrother did at the time. I had a chance to go ahead and use it for a little bit. Chess was one of the ones that he did have. I remember being pissed off that I lost that game. Space Invaders, that was my jam. That was the game that I just simply could have played days, weeks on, just by itself. Here we've got like 26 games. Man, if you wanted a bunch of games, Atari was the one that you wanted. But if you wanted the really cool games, Activision was probably just slightly ahead of the curve there. I'd like to announce that I have hit my microphone stand for the 4th time during this broadcast. Ah, okay. I like it. You only have one quarter in an arcade, of course. But which game are you playing? Donkey Kong, Galaxian, Frogger, Pac-Man, Centipede, Asteroids, Defender, Space Invaders, Star Wars. Oh yes, Star Wars. Oh yes. In my case, I've got an easy answer for this one. If I'm in an arcade, I got one quarter, I am totally doing Galaxian because I could play forever on that game. I was halfway decent at that game. Star Wars, okay. Who of you out there remember Trench Run? If you know, you know. Space Invaders was boring. Somehow Space Invaders was boring in an arcade setting, although a ton of fun if you had an Atari 2600. But no, if I had a bunch of quarters as my birthday or something and I'm going to an arcade, I'd have to wait a while because everyone wanted to play the damn Star Wars game, but that's what I'd be playing. Oh yeah, okay. I was talking just a moment ago about Activision games, and this is the one that I think was the original cool Activision game. Pitfall. I remember Atari had their version of it too, but somehow it was just better on Activision. I remember playing it, and I'm just thinking to myself, good God, this is fun. Those crocodiles, those scorpions. Yeah. Oh, alright. This is a graphic from River Raid. Let's see if I got the box. Yeah, River Raid. This was not the first Activision game that was highly addictive, but it was the one that was most addictive to me and my brother and my mother. We all were trying to outdo each other's high score on this game, and my mom was one of those competitive people that didn't think she was competitive, but there's nothing quite like having your grown mom just upset about how much easier of a run you had on a video game, and that's why you were winning. Now, my brother was worse. We just were knocked down, drag out knuckle dusters of video game wars. To this day, when we get together and play Madden, it's just no holds barred, man. We both just want to win in the worst way. Oh, okay. You can't possibly talk about the 80s without talking about movies of the 80s. Can I get a witness on the following? Labyrinth, way back in '86. A year before that, Legend. The Never-Ending Story, 1984. And personally, my favorite of the 4 of those, Dark Crystal. The Dark Crystal was just pure magic, really. To this day, I still remember virtually every frame of that movie, and I must have seen it about 5 or 6 times. It's odd, really. Obviously, George Lucas and other creators, they fell in love with computer graphics, and computer graphics absolutely have their place. I mean, there are things that computer graphics can do that just simply no other effect really can. But there was something about the puppetry of the Dark Crystal that still captivates me even to this day. I mean, I could literally pop this movie in or find out that it's playing somewhere, and I would be glad to watch it from frame to frame. My girlfriend's agreeing with me. My girlfriend's Dark Crystal mug, prized possession. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that if you have somehow gone this many years, 43 years and counting, without having seen the Dark Crystal, I really, really recommend it. And go ahead and it's worth getting a Netflix account in order to watch this movie. now that I've gushed about movies, oh, check this picture out. Fruit pies, Hostess fruit pies. The best flavor was, and we have cherry, peach, blueberry, lemon, blackberry, and apple. Easy call for me. It was the cherry. Now, Hostess fruit pies, of course, still exist, but there's something that's just been a little bit lost. I think that they're nowhere near as big as what they used to be. That could just be my old bones saying so, but I swear that they were bigger before. I swear that they were tastier with more things that resembled real fruit instead of just filling. Getting one of those when I was a kid was like getting the Ark of the Covenant or something like that. It was just like, oh my God, such a huge sugar rush and so good. I remember liking the blueberry one just about as much as the cherry. Odd enough, I never really had the lemon, I don't think. Anybody have any comments on what the lemon one tasted like? Or any of them, to be honest. Apple, I remember treating the apple pie like, yeah, it's okay, but I could get that anywhere. But the cherry pie, man, that's where it was at. Oh, here we go. We've got a picture of Jiffy Pop popcorn. Small story, you may find it charming, you may not, I don't know. But, so Jiffy Pop popcorn, you put it on a stovetop, and then you just watched it rise gradually, and then you tore open the silver aluminum container in order to get to the popcorn. Does this still exist today? I don't think I've seen it in forever. But what I do remember was my grandmother was in the habit of wearing a silver wig during the time that I got introduced to, pop-out popcorn. And I remember telling my mom once, it's like, look Mom, it's Grandma's hair. And her laughing at the sheer absurdity of that comment. I remember it being pretty tasty. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think that there's any popcorn tastier than Act 3. Or maybe Orville Redenbacher, but still, there was something about that popcorn where it just it rose, this big silver aluminum bowl just rose about a foot, and tearing into that, and you're just going, oh yeah, and then gorging yourself on whatever was on channel 13 during the day. Okay. This is a stereo that was made in the 80s. I think Sony makes this one in particular. My stepfather had one of these, not a slightly different model than this one, but he had one. And I remember the sliding hydraulic doors. I remember the really high fidelity and how you could just increase the volume to 11. It was, I never heard the record player portion of this, but it was like a tape player, a record player, and a radio. And I remember, and I think this one in particular has a CD player as well. I don't think the one that my stepdad had that. I could be wrong. Memories being faulty and all that with advancing age. My stepfather started dating my mother when I was 14. And I am very much like most 14-year-olds at that time, just kind of I don't want any change. I gotta say, seeing his stereo and him allowing me to actually play around with it, the fascination with audio devices is a long-standing one with me. But him allowing me to go ahead and play with it and listen to new music, and I found out that my stepdad was a wild man when it came to music, because he had things I had never even heard of before. My very first introduction to Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath were because of my stepdad. My stepdad is the coolest guy on earth, and that was really my first glimpse into just how cool this guy was. Bikes and skateboards. This is how you knew where your friends were back in the day? Absolutely. Was Eric at your house, or was he at his mother's house? Well, where's the bike? That's how you knew. Oh, I am seeing something on this picture that I didn't see before. Ho, yes. The bottom bike is a Huffy Sigma. Let me see if I can dredge up a picture really quick for you folks. Okay, here you go. So this, for my money, was the coolest bike short of a BMX. It wasn't because it was like a fantastic bike. We just thought it looked really cool. I had one. It was like actually a 15th Christmas, 15th birthday, or no. I'm sorry. That was a Christmas present from my biological dad. It was like gray and pink with white vintage wheels. It just screamed 80s. And the thing about this bike, the Huffy Sigma, is that it had because of the vented wheels, whenever you rode it, it would go woo. And it sounded like a phantom or something like that. I remember just thinking, I am the coolest kid on the block for having this. I loved it. Like she did many other things, like including like my clothing and like my sports equipment and all that. I had a cousin who actually flat out just took it from me one time. Just like, it's my bike now. And I'm like, oh, all right. Like at that point, I'm like just kind of thinking of like cars and whatnot. So yeah, so I passed it on, and I don't know what happened to that bike. I don't know what she did with it, but there were some really good times on that Huffy Sigma. Do you guys have like a favorite bike that you maybe even deep down still wish that you had? Go ahead and comment below. Moving on. Oh, yeah, let's go ahead and talk about this a little bit. Kids today will never understand how much these bloody things hurt. The results were far worse than an 80s horror flick. Absolutely. These are the actual pedals, and I don't know why they made them so grooved. They would hold on. They would hold on to your shoes far longer than what you wanted them to sometimes. And if you flat out crashed your bike, those things were just murder on your skin. They would scrape you up something awful. You would look like a war veteran. Like I'm going to your mom's like, Mom, I need to be cleaned up a little bit. I had an accident on the bike. Not that I know from experience, because I always rode my bike in a safe and unexciting fashion. Sure. When I was your age, you couldn't go more than 2 city blocks without knowing where one of these were. A payphone. The payphones actually had books that had everybody's number in it. Not everybody's, of course. Some people were unlisted. But describe or name a place that you were happy there was a payphone. Oh, absolutely. I've got a small story for this. Number one, I'd always have to use a payphone in order to call my mom when I was ready to go ahead and go home from whatever sports I was doing. But more than that, I remember I was going to get a ride from a friend back home to there was this skating rink called Spinning Wheels in my native Tacoma, Washington. Technically Spanaway, Washington. I remember being there one time, and in fact my ride bailed on me. I was going, oh, well, what do I do now? Fortunately, I had a couple of quarters. And so, me, 10:30 at night, my mom's probably wishing she was in bed, has to go ahead and take a phone call from me and say, I don't know where my ride is. I think they took off without me, and I'm still stuck here. And 30 minutes later, 30 minutes later, my mom was there. You always kept a quarter in your pocket just because you didn't want to make it a collect call, because those, even back then, those were considered outrageously expensive. Now, compared to modern day cell phone bills, of course, they're nowhere near that level. But parents didn't like paying those collect calls. Oh, let me tell you that much. So finally, somewhere around 9th grade, I finally got the habit of keeping the quarters on me. It was my own fault. I tended to use the quarters on vending machines and the like. Candy bars, they're an addiction, especially in junior high. Thank you. You're all lovely. Thank you very much. Well, my peeps, this is it for this particular transmission of A Wash of Static. Thank you so much for staying with me to the end. I am Jerodius Thane. And I thank you so much for your patronage, for your attention, for just being there and being my subscribers. Like, looking so forward to doing. I am so looking forward to creating as much good content for you folks as what I can do. Normally I go ahead and say something along the lines of, oh, they consider your minds bought and paid for. Do whatever you can to prove them wrong. That's what I've been doing for the better part of a year and a half now. But I'm feeling a little more lighthearted, a little more optimistic. And so I'm just going to go ahead and say, be good to one another, be good to yourselves, enjoy your life, fight the power, resist oppression and fascism, and dogs and cats deserve your love. This has been A Wash of Static, and we're out. We're out.